Time-traveling couple, posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Ms. J. Lynn. Made an account just to share my experience. I wanted to share what I saw a couple days ago because it's still on my mind, and it was a really weird experience for me. So there's this old couple that walks by my house every day. It's an old man with long white hair and an Asian woman. They're my favorite. I adore them. They both always have hats on, and the man always carrying this huge walking stick like Gandalf. I've always joked that it has powers. Well, the day I was outside on the phone and had to stop the conversation to say what I just saw, I was talking to my best friend who has seen this couple many times as well. I saw a couple walk by who were young, probably in their 40s. It was a young man with long brown hair and a young Asian woman. Both had on the same style hats as the older couple. The woman was holding his arm while walking like she always does. It was around the same time I'm used to seeing this older couple, and the man was carrying a walking stick. He looked over and glanced at me, and it just gave me a really weird feeling. It was so trippy. Thinking about it now gives me chills. I just feel it was them, and the resemblances were uncanny. Has anybody had any type of similar experience? My mind is boggled. My eye doctor has a completely different body in this timeline. Posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Jersey Fresh Peaches. This is my first post. I joined after reading all these glitch reports. I have a few other different that I will post later, but this one is more recent. I've been going to the same eye doctor more than once per year on average, extra tests for glaucoma and RPG contact lens fitting. He is Dr. Italian Name, a young man in practice with Dr. German Name, who is an old man. Until a couple months ago, Dr. Italian Name was a cute, not very tall, stockily built, olive-skinned, Italian-looking man. As a 39-year-old female divorcee, I know what my male doctors look like. On this last visit, Dr. Italian Name, the doctor had, in less than a year, grown nearly a foot, became blonder, and his facial features had completely changed. The new Dr. Italian Name had a much more thin and angular face than the old Dr. Italian Name. Different nose, different mouth, completely different face. The whole body was, overall, much better looking. Disoriented, I remained calm, but asked the girl on my way out if there had ever been any other doctors there. No, just Dr. Italian Name and Dr. German Name. I went home, looked at the practice's website, and Dr. Italian Name had the same bio, same family, insofar as he was married with a number of kids, not sure about their appearance. Everything was the same. He is the same age as me. We always joked during exams about our eyes aging as if they were the same age. It's just that it wasn't him at all. Totally different guy. I finally saw a UFO. Then I was scared by what happened next. Posted on the Truth It's Here subreddit by Anaria. I will try to stay as precise and clear as I possibly can. This happened roughly 2 years ago. This will be long. I've always wanted to believe, but I'm a natural skeptic to anything and everything. I believe nothing until you can scientifically prove it. At that same time, I believe everything possible because, logically, everything is possible. It was fall 2013 and the Norwegian darkness comes fast when summer is gone. When I stayed home for a few months, it kind of naturally fell upon me to be the one who walked the dog. My mom got a German Shepherd a few years back, and I quite like taking him for walks in the forest. I especially prefer walking him in the forest at night, when it's pitch black. The woods are right next to our neighborhood, so I have easy access and know these woods like the back of my hand. That's why I'm able to walk in utter darkness. The time was somewhere around midnight, maybe later, as Torres and I went for our nightly walk. Being night, I also let him run free, as there are no chances of him attacking another dog or person. He can be a bit aggressive because he's nervous. Anyway, we get to the big clearing we sometimes go to, and stop there to chill out a little. The night sky is clear, and the stars are shining beautifully bright. The dog is running about doing his thing, and I'm just standing here looking up, dreaming, wishing, hoping that one day, just maybe I'd be so lucky as to see something magical. After about 10 minutes of me standing like that, felt like a meditation, I suddenly notice a strong yellowish light far, far away, just over the tree line horizon, which I'm barely able to distinguish from the black sky. The light was stronger than any other stars. I would say that it was 4 times stronger than the strongest star planet I've ever seen in the sky. At first, it's just hovering there, and I'm thinking nothing of it. It's a bright star at the edge of the horizon, so it gets light enhanced due to the curvature of the atmosphere, the scientist in me tells me. Then it slowly starts to move. The motion was fluid, small but noticeable. The weak tree line below it gave me a good reference point against the moving light, and it's definitely moving. Back and forth a little, up and down a little, just small movements. No jerking, no sudden anything. I stand there for 20 minutes watching this as the light slowly dances above the tree line, and I enjoy the show. Then I get bored and go home. Yes, I got bored. Watching a moving light in the sky has limited interest value. Who knew? The next day, I regret leaving so soon. I'd wish I'd filmed it, even though something in me told me not to. And I wished I'd stayed there for longer. I'll just go back tonight and have another look, I think to myself. And that evening, about the same time, I went back. The same procedure as last time. After 10 minutes, maybe less, standing in the open space looking up, there suddenly appears a very bright light, quite similar to the one from the day before. Except this time it appears in the middle of the sky right above me. And this time the light isn't slowly moving back and forth and up and down. This time it's really dancing across the sky, similar to the movements of Tinkerbell and Peter Pan, or one of those glowing fluorescent bugs. I'm utterly amazed, grateful, dancing, laughing, enjoying the experience. I swear I can feel I'm telepathically communicating with this light. We dance with each other, and I laugh at how silly I think I must have looked if someone had walked by. We enjoy each other's company for a good 20 to 30 minutes, when alas, boredom strikes again. Can you believe it? I've been waiting to see a UFO my entire life, and here I get it thrown at me twice, and I still get bored? Because boredom, I decide I want to up the ante a little. I can take it to the next level. I want more. I say out loud, "Show me something crazy." Not 5 seconds later, the strangest sound I've ever heard begins thumping from the path that leads into the darkness of the woods. The dog suddenly becomes attentive to the sound and stands up right next to me, utterly stiff. His ears and face are peaked toward the sound, which is becoming louder and stronger. To describe it would be an utterly fail, but words are all I have. I imagine the sound of someone jogging over gravel, and the sound of a tire across a sandy road, and the wings of a bird flapping slowly. It was like a pulse, throbbing, thumping, swooshing, punching, getting louder as it was getting closer. My hairs were standing on the back of my neck, the dog was frozen, and to my frightening surprise I realized the sound isn't coming from the path into the forest. It's coming from over the trees. I begin to freak out and imagine running wolves coming to eat me alive, or a bear running towards me. But it's over the trees. Is it a giant owl? But it sounds like someone is biking. No one is biking in the woods in the middle of the night. My thoughts are quenched by the primal fear that is rising inside me. The sound is so intensely loud and close that something or someone jumping out of the darkness any second. Screw this, I'm out of here. I back up slowly and then hurriedly turn around and run my butt off. The dog is unchained, but I firmly tell him not to run right beside me. Walk nice, command. As he obeys like this before, I run despite almost falling over several times. The path is known, but the ground is invisible, so each step is a step of trust. The walk back home usually takes around 10 minutes or so, but we were home in less than 2. Inside safely at home, I shake off the fear, but I don't get much rest that night. Day after, I still feel a lingering fear, and I decide I should face it and head back out tonight. Around midnight again, I take the dog as we go towards the entrance of the forest. The path leads into the woods as a door in through a wall of blackness. Fear increases as I approach it. Hesitant, actually scared, we walk a few feet into the forest and the dog suddenly starts squeezing himself around my legs. Walking around me, suddenly stopping and looking straight ahead into the nothingness, begins to growl. We walk back home, and I don't walk the dog for a week. I think I died in Switched Realities, posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by the Fake Man 23. So this is really confusing and upsetting because I actually don't know what to really believe anymore. My story begins about 2 months ago around May 22nd. My friend and I had planned an international trip for almost a year, and the day had finally come for us to leave. We drove to O'Hare and boarded a flight for Hong Kong. Now my life was at a high point. Things were going well with my girlfriend. The college semester just ended, with me getting pretty good grades, and this awesome trip that I waited for so long was finally here. So we got through on our flight no problem. It was really long, like 16 hours, and I had to stay up all night so it would be easier to sleep on the plane. Unfortunately, that didn't go as well as I wanted, and I ended up staying for about 10 hours on the plane. After about 10 hours, I finally drifted off with my head leaning back at a sort of an obtuse angle with my neck exposed. I remember having no dreams until something changed. I dreamt that I was in the airplane on my seat, but something was majorly wrong. I felt very hot and sick and couldn't breathe. I managed the attention of one of the stewards, and I remember he said something I couldn't understand, and all of a sudden, several stewardesses came over, and I had a crowd of people around me. I started pointing to my neck as if to signal that's where the problem was, and they seemed to understand. The last thing I saw before I closed my eyes was the steward moving towards my neck with some sort of knife. After that, I remember feeling very weak and just getting weaker and weaker. Then it was all black again. I woke up gasping for breath and my seat on the plane. I was freaking out. I felt my head to make sure it wasn't hot, and I checked my clothes for sweat stains, but nothing was there. I looked around and almost everyone else was asleep. I sat there trying to process what I had just experienced and to make sense of things. It was a dream, but it felt so much more real than that. I truly expected to wake up sick and covered in sweat. I managed to brush it off eventually, and I took the gum out of my mouth and went back to sleep. We eventually landed, and we got on our trip, but my life started changing in strange ways. About a week and a half, the first change happened. Almost out of nowhere, at least to me. Still, my girlfriend just broke up with me. She claimed she wanted to be single during college. I'm going to be a junior and she'll be a sophomore, and didn't want to balance a relationship. I was shocked completely and extremely upset for how out of the blue it seemed. What hurt me most was her reasoning, though. As long as I knew her, she had been adamant about being in a relationship and having kids and a family at a very early age. When we first were together, I wasn't really against it, But the longer I knew her, the more I saw and wanted that the future she painted. She joked about getting married to me a couple more times. It tore me up inside, and I began questioning everything. If someone I thought I knew so well could completely reverse like that, I don't know, I just couldn't believe it. This is what led me to my theory. I started racking my brain for things that changed that I did over that week. I came up with one or two answers, but ultimately not enough to justify it. Then I thought maybe it was just her. And of course, that could still be it, but it still just didn't sit right with me, plainly because of how quickly it went from I love you to I don't want to be anywhere near you. From everything we did, I had complete faith and trust in her. After much deliberation, I finally came to this theory. The theory that I'm not in the same reality as I used to be. My theory begins with the flight in my dream. The dream was truly nothing like I have ever experienced before. I wish I could believe it was just a night terror, but I've experienced those twice before, and it just wasn't the same. I think I died due to some complication with my neck that caused me to essentially choke and die in my seat. I think the steward I saw had noticed me very late and tried to perform an emergency tracheotomy to save my life, but failed. I died in my seat on the plane, but for whatever reason I woke up in an alternate reality, alive and well. For a week or two I regarded this theory, but eventually just let it go, viewing it as me attempting to cling to something and for some reassurance or safety or whatever. But I let it go for just being too out there to be seriously considered. Fast forward to now, about 2 months later. I believe I could have possibly had this actually happen. Today I was thinking about my dream and my experience, calling it stupid and whatnot, accepting that even if it wasn't a dream, I probably would not choke and die, like for that no reason. I went to spit out my gum because it got old and froze mid-step. The gum I was chewing, the gum on the plane before I fell asleep, I definitely fell asleep with it in my mouth. I began to imagine, what if the angle of my neck provided the perfect way for my gum to fall down my throat and cause me to choke while I was asleep? I could believe that, but still, reality switching just doesn't happen. It's not anything, and I didn't believe it until on Reddit today, as the thread about the Berenstein Bears conspiracy, which I distinctly remember as Stein. So many people remember the books and authors and entire franchise as Stein and not Stain. I would be extremely skeptical if it were just a few, but so many people remember it differently. After this, I finally decided to seriously consider my theory and opened my mind to determine I would have to find more changes than just my ex-girlfriend's personality shift. Then it hit me. The biggest change I had been ignoring or written off was right in front of me. The whole summer I have been arguing with my university about classes I'm taking in the fall. These classes were specific to my major, which I declared a week or two before the end of the last semester. I distinctly remember that day. I went into my advisor's office. We met for 53 minutes. He had to call several people to get me in the major. And at the end, I rang a gong for students that declare a major. The school claims to have no record of me declaring this major. I've called my advisor and he says that I've never met with him. He told me I made an appointment with him, but never showed up. So I started trying to get my major declared. All the papers he emailed me were the exact same ones I filled out in his office before I left school. I filled them out again and chalked it up to incompetence. But it wasn't. I think I missed that meeting in his universe and signed up for classes on my own. The other major thing I've noticed that is different so far is actually really odd and unrelated. Around June 9th, when John Bernthal was announced as the publisher for Marvel, I saw many posts about how excited people were on r/Marvel Studios, except I noticed that Everyone kept getting it wrong. My friends and I were actually kind of familiar with him because we all like to make fun of the character he plays in The Walking Dead, Shane. We constantly looked him up on IMDb, seeing what other movies he was in and stuff like that. After several days of seeing posts about John Bernthal, I decided to check IMDb, and sure enough, it's Jon Bernthal. I remember him as Joe Bernthal. Everyone I've asked tells me I'm wrong, but I know what I remember. I'll look for more differences in my life and try to update. I really don't know whether or not I actually believe this. Sorry for the wall of text. Let me know if you have had something similar happen. Went out and had an argument via text with my girlfriend. Got home and turned out I never took my phone with me. Posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by CDogYadig. So I've been vaguely aware of this sub before, but I've never been active in it. But I believe this belongs here. This just happened to me half an hour ago. Basically, I'm in a long-distance relationship which relies heavily on communication for it to work. Now, I'm pretty bad at replying quickly. Sometimes I forget I've read a text and only realize a few hours later. This really gets on my girlfriend's nerves as she tends to reply instantly to things, and sometimes she gets really irritated by what she feels is a lack of commitment. Anyways, I messaged her saying I was just heading out to visit my grandma for a few hours, so I wouldn't be able to reply frequently. Whilst I was there, my phone was buzzing like mad, so after an hour I checked it to 8 messages from my girlfriend, each one with an increasingly angry tone, asking why I'm ignoring her. I text her back explaining that I'm out, etc., and she had none of it, and then argued that I should have told her despite the fact that I had. I kind of ignored it and let it blow over. About an hour and a half after I head back home. When I get home, I enter the living room, and there's my phone on the arm of the sofa. I had not been in the living room since before I'd left the house. I checked it, and the last text received was from the girlfriend saying, "Talk soon, XXX." The mini argument never happened. Was my angry girlfriend caught between this universe and an alternate one where I never went to my grandma's? Help me out.